This is one area where we as Christians will differ in what we believe from many non-Christians, is that love is a choice. That we can choose to love people. Now the world peddles an idea that basically says that love is something that you have no control over it. And you've probably seen the romantic movies, you know, where their eyes meet across a crowded room. And I said that just as Victor came through the door. But two people, their eyes meet across a crowded room and whoo, something magic happens. And they fall in love. They can't help it. They've got nothing to do with it. They just fall in love. And you know what? That myth has been peddled so often in movies, in popular music and everything else, that a great proportion of the people that you know, the people you go to school with, people you work with, people you study with, have swallowed that lie. And they think love is something that just happens to you, or you just fall into it. Here's the problem. If you can fall into love as quickly as that, you can fall out of love just as quickly. And you know, the same thing happens. People say, sometimes I get young people coming to me because they want to get married, and I say to them, why do you want to get married? And you know, the first thing they always say is, because we love each other. And I say, that's great, that's going to help, but now tell me more. Why do you want to get married? Because just loving each other is not enough. Because all too often people feel like they've fallen in love with each other and everything's going great. And then guess what happens? They're somewhere else and somebody else walks through the door and their eyes meet across a crowded room and they fall out of love with that person they were in love with. Now they've fallen in love with somebody else and they say, well, I can't help it, it just happened. Well, the fact is we can't help it because love is a choice. You know, the Bible commands us to love one another. And here's the thing. God will not command you to do something unless you have a choice whether to obey the command or not. In other words, if it was something you did what's something you do without really thinking? Breathing. Yeah? I mean, imagine if God said, the 11th commandment, thou shalt breathe. Well, that'd be stupid, wouldn't it? Like, why would God command you to breathe? Because you do it automatically. Yeah. The fact that God commands you to do something means that you have a choice to do it. Well, the reason why God commands us to love one another is because we actually have a choice not to love. We have a choice either to obey God in love or not to obey Him and refuse to love one another. And so love is a choice. And it's important that we remember that, because there are times when it is easy to love somebody. That's why whenever we first, I'm getting now into the area of romantic love, but that's why whenever we first start going out with somebody, we really do our best to look our best. Like going on a first date. I mean, I remember the first time I went on a date with Janice. I really took my time getting ready. You know, I probably tried on about 8 different shirts before I thought, yeah, that one looks good and everything else. But can I tell you something? After we've been going out about 6 months, I did not try 8 different shirts before I went out with her. You know, I said, oh, I'm seeing Janice tonight. Oh, I better rush, I'm going to be late. Because at first, when you're going out together, you're making all that effort to show the other person, because you want them to like you. You want them to love you. And you know what? Sometimes it's easy to love somebody whenever they're doing all the right things. But what we've actually got to say is, am I going to love this person even if things go wrong? Am I going to love this person even when they don't seem very lovable? Am I going to love somebody even when the situations aren't perfect? That's one of the reasons why when we conduct marriage services in the church, we ask people to make promises, and we ask them to say they say, I'm going to take you as my wife, my husband, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. Yeah? For better, for worse. And that means that we're choosing to love that person even if the circumstances aren't great.